Hi, everyone. My name is Amber Fowler, and I'm a project associate for ELA, and welcome to our webinar on how to plan an impactful school study tour, a case study with George Washington Carver School. ELA is a coalition of organizations that produces and shares resources, programs, and events dedicated to supporting students with disabilities and learning differences. Formed in 2020, as of today, ELA has over 160 partners, and our website hosts resource libraries, accessibility tech tools, webinars, podcasts, and case study recordings, and we also host various of initiatives. One of those initiatives being a school study tour, which is the opportunity that brings educators from across the country to a designated state and brings them up to 4 school tours within a district, allowing them to immerse themselves into the school atmosphere and learn about the processes and policies that aligns with ELA's promising practices. Our most recent tour was in New Orleans, where we were able to meet Sarah Haggerty, the Senior Director of Advancement at George Washington Carver, and their tour was so great that we decided to bring them here for a webinar for them to give some tips and tricks on how to plan a successful school study tour. However, before we get started, or before we move on, I would like to share some links in the chat that you guys can look at and view, and this will give you basically this perspective of the attendees at the school study tour that we had in New Orleans. Now we can share your insights, Sarah.
Awesome. I'm excited. I also just realized that the picture at the bottom is from Carver. So
Yeah.
that's helpful. Hi, everybody. I'm actually going to have Amber start off by reading the mission of Collegiate Academies.
Collegiate Academies builds world-class public schools that prepare all scholars for college success and lives unlimited opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you. So we have about 2,900 scholars and 500 staff members across 5 high schools, 4 in New Orleans, 1 in Baton Rouge, and then 2 post-secondary programs. Our 2 post-secondary programs are Opportunities Academy, where I'm actually at right now, which serves 18 to 22-year-olds with significant disabilities, and then Next Level NOLA, which is a 13th year bridge year program where high school graduates can either earn college credit through Southern New Hampshire University or work towards an industry-based credential. And I'm so happy to be with you all and share out what led to an excellent tour when Amber's group and Aurora's group came to Carver back in the fall. So my current role, actually, let me back up a little bit. I was a teacher back in the 2010-ish, and then I was an assistant to a CEO, and then I was a founding director of operations at 2 schools, one in Connecticut, one in New Orleans. And so I think all of those different backgrounds and experiences have informed my work now. I now do fundraising, student recruitment, marketing, and authorizer relations. A big part of this has been tour groups. So we get interested funders coming to tour, and then a lot of organizations coordinated through like ELA, All Means All, Attuned Partners, and other groups who have heard about our schools, heard about the amazing work that our scholars and teachers are doing, and have asked to come and visit. Part of my role has been coordinating those tours and ensuring that they are successful for everybody involved. And these are the 5 headlines that I think make for excellent tour experiences. And I'm gonna walk y'all through these. So it starts with mindsets. The mindset I have when leading these tours is that I am responsible for the success of the tour, for the partner org, for the participants, for all the lovely people who've traveled from around the country and endured travel challenges, woken up early and come out to Carver in the morning, and then for the host school team. I think especially as an operations leader, I'm always thinking about how can we ensure our teachers and our school-based teammates can focus on serving scholars, focus on the learning happening in the classroom, and not have this be a positive experience and not any sort of inconvenience or distraction from the work they're doing. So that's the mindset I have with the host school. With the partner organization, I want them to see me as reliable, trust me, and know that we're going to make this a high quality experience. I want participants to feel that their time is valued and that we are getting as much out of every single moment of the learning experience. We don't want to hide anything either. And so I think what that looks like is we're going to highlight the strengths in our schools. We're going to go to the best classrooms with the strongest teachers, but we're also going to be real about the challenges that we all face, that we all experience. If you see a scholar who's struggling in the hallway, you're going to see what we do to get that scholar back on track and how we support them. We're also not going to hide anything. And so we're also not going to hide or like curate. And so if you guys want to see the cell phone collection process in the morning, you're going to get to see that because oftentimes that's actually where people learn the most. Second thing, I'll pause here, is we're going to showcase our school's key strengths. Amber, can I have you read the quote in blue?
We dictate the ceiling for adults culture. Adults culture dictates the ceiling for scholar culture.
Thank you. That is from Jarrell Bryan, who is our Chief Executive Officer, an amazing person, amazing leader. So we host visits, I think generally around a couple of areas. People really like to come to our school to see reading intervention and our reading intervention programming at the high school level. We have a newcomer program, La Sierras Academy. People love to come see that. People love to come see like ELA and other groups come to see our special education services and what it looks like for us to support all scholars. Our schools are about 20% of students with IEPs. And then come to see general like leadership development and excellent teaching and excellent leadership. I would say no matter what people are coming for, the thing that they are often taking away as the key strength is what is here in blue. That we are serious about our adult culture and that we know our adult culture directly impacts and dictates what is possible for our scholars on our campuses. And so no matter what the focal point of the visit is, no matter which program they're there to see, the thing we actually highlight the most through the experience is what it looks like to have a strong adult culture and the impact that that has. So I'd love for you all to take a second and in the chat, think to yourself, like if you, especially if you work at a school or a CMO or a group of schools, what do you think is the thing that stands out most to your school when you have visitors come? What is the thing they leave saying, leave talking about, leave thinking about? That is your answers. Mm-hmm. Student outcome data. That's cool. Julie, I guess I'm curious there. One question I have is what do you think, I'm assuming that your data is really strong. I'm curious, what do you think leads to the strength of the data or is shaping it the most? Nice extracurricular events. That's cool. The positivity of our staff. I love that, Devin. All right, I'm gonna keep going. And so essentially, we came to this realization, right? This is our strength. And so no matter what the focal point of the visit is, actually like this is going to be the thing we're going to call out, we're going to elevate continually and then connect to the program, connect to the results, because actually we believe that the strong adult culture is what shapes everything we do. And so a big thing that we are working towards with both excellent teaching and excellent tours and experiences is to show and not tell. So we want the experience to be immersive. What that looks like for us is most of our visits and tours start with our morning meeting, which is when, I wish I had a video I could show y'all. All of our staff are in a circle. It is super high energy and we have the attendees and participants stand in the circle with our staff, join the group, go into breakout groups, practice, participate as if they are a member of the team so that they can have an immersive experience and see what that feels like. And then something I added and actually did first with the ELA group that came to Carver is a new introduction that introduced everyone attending to Carver's mission and vision and values, but also our agreements. So these are agreements that we have for all of our staff and for all of our scholars across our schools. Proud hands, engaged posture and tracking, snaps and magic. You've probably seen that. These are the things that we expect of our scholars and expect of our teachers and expect of ourselves in all spaces, whether it's a Zoom meeting, a classroom, a tour, a visit, etc. And so this was kind of a swing for me and like made me feel a little nervous and had me put my teacher hat back on, but I taught the group this and then held them accountable to doing it. And I think at first it was a little uncomfortable. Some people seemed a little shy, but actually throughout the visit, they grew at it and they felt what the impact of it was. And it was really cool to see. To be totally honest, that came out of a place of, I think the tour I led prior to that, I realized that I was sort of letting some of the visitors dictate the feel of the visit and the tone of the visit, and I was being more of a thermometer and less of a thermostat. And so I made the decision, actually, like for these tours to be strong, for people to get the most out of them as possible, like I have to be the thermostat. I have to set the culture of the space and lead it, and not expect anyone else to do it. And then we spend the bulk of our time doing classroom observations, something that I have found super helpful ahead of each visit, especially as someone who's not an instructional expert, is leaning on our instructional experts and asking them, what are the 2 questions we should ask as a debrief every time we leave a classroom, and having those be consistent for each tour group, and after each class. I think that helps us highlight the things we want to do and like maximize the reflection time. And actually, I wasn't planning on calling this out, but I will. So for each group, we also I have a member of our network team join each group and take them around. So I don't have like folks kind of go on their own. Like we do actually want to have someone who can speak, answer questions, illuminate things, provide more context, and shape the culture of that space. And so where you see CST leader, that's our network teammate. And then as you go down, those are the classes we're visiting. And then coming from an ops background, smooth logistics is super important to me and really key to a strong visit. The goal here is I want the content of the day to shine, the experience of the day to shine. And then I also want to ask as little of possible as our school teammates, so that they can focus on serving their teachers and focus on serving their scholars. So ahead of each visit, I have a Google Sheet. I make a new tab for each event, and I use this and I just capture and I add action steps when I realize I've missed things, but I capture this to make sure that all of the logistics behind the scenes are smooth. And that way, when we show up in the morning, everyone knew that that was going to happen. Everyone's ready for the visitors, and also use it as a time to build culture. And then finally, something we are starting to do more and continuing to grow in and refine our routines here is continuing the conversation, both internally and externally. So after each visit, a goal that I'm not yet hitting, but I will hit, is I'm sending out sunshine and affirmations to the members of our teams who hosted the visit, the teachers we visited, et cetera, and highlighting the feedback that was given and the strengths of that. And then continuing the conversation. Hold on, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm in an office space and I shouldn't be in here. Okay. Okay, cool. So continue the conversation internally, and then externally highlighting the visit on LinkedIn. So doing a post you can see on the right-hand side here, and then also sharing out to visitors like resources, answering questions that they asked, providing materials that we didn't have in the moment, and also like letting them know how to stay in touch, so that we can keep learning and keep growing from each other. So I'll pause there. Thank you all so much. What questions do you have? What would be helpful? I really want you all to get as much out of this webinar as possible. And so please ask anything and everything. And I'm happy to also share any resources or materials that would be helpful.
Hey, Sarah. Maybe give you guys about a minute or so to answer any question, ask any questions you have. Raised hand. Please drop, if you have any questions, please drop it in the chat so we can I can ask them to Sarah. We can answer them for you. Hello. Sure.
Of course, please do. I will wait for that question. I will say, Aurora, to your point of like extra people wanting to learn about extracurriculars and like whole school culture. I think one great thing of our like sort of follow-up email is you can have people follow us on social media and they can see most of those highlights because typically the tours are happening during the school day in the morning. So they're getting a little bit less of that. But if you all follow us on Instagram, you can see great Mardi Gras content and other amazing things happening.
No worries. So I actually did have a question. How far in advance do you plan for a school tour?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it depends because also like the length of time between when the person asked about the visit and when the visit happens
Yeah.
varies. I can actually talk you guys through like we a group reached out maybe a month ago about doing a visit in the middle of April, so about a month from now. And so yesterday, a huge benefit of this checklist that I have is yesterday I met with Jarrell's assistant, the assistant to our CEO. She and I just went through this list and we did the first 6 things. We did everything that was before 1 week out. And then I GC'd her and myself to meet the week before and just like finalize the prep. Because of this tool and because each visit is generally following like a relatively similar schedule, kind of falling into a couple of different buckets of tours. There's sort of the general tour, the reading intervention tour, and then the La Sierras tour, which is our newcomer programming. What that means is I can kind of just plug and play a previous agenda versus needing to create something new.
Yeah.
And that's also helped me collect like materials as well, because different visitors and groups ask for different resources, and sort of curating those, saving those has made it easier to prep and respond. And so the first tour took a lot longer than the tour yesterday. The tour yesterday, like I think we basically planned it. We'll meet for about 30 minutes, maybe do about 30 minutes of other prep work ahead of time. But I think it's like now really plug and play, which is great.
Awesome. And like when you typically map out the agenda for the day, do you typically have the same like teachers and classes that you visit, or is it does it vary?
So I would say we typically visit like one of 2 schools. We visit either Carver, where y'all came, or Cohen, which is where La Sierra, the newcomer program is. And yeah, I would say generally we're visiting the same classes, which I think also just for those teachers builds like routine and consistency, and even the kids kind of get used to it.
Yeah.
And so it's a little less disruptive or jarring. Sometimes some groups will want to pop into essential skills and reach, which are our self-contained programs. But other than that, I find also groups want to see like core classrooms, and also really like seeing 9th grade, because I think we're a high school only network.
Yeah.
And so when they come and see a 9th grade class, they can sort of see like, this is the culture we're building and where we're aiming to get to by 12th grade.
I think we have a question. As someone on the other side of reaching out to ask what if we can bring a group of to tour a certain school district, what are some of the most helpful things I can do as we plan together, or any information I can provide to help us gauge how to decide what classes to visit and what to highlight, etc.
Awesome question. I think honestly, the way the ELO team asks is a great like model. It is less fresh in my mind. I will say a group Attuned reached out, the tour that we're planning a month from now. They have sort of like a Google Doc where I was able to just type in the schedule, and like link the resources in that. And I found that really simple. I think also just thinking through like kind of coming in mind with sort of like proposed times, proposed like classes or content, but also like flexibility to see what the group also thinks is best. I think also just like reasonable, thinking reasonable deadlines and thinking through like for someone who works in a school or even someone who works in a school group, sometimes, things are a little bit harder to turn around.
Yeah, imagine.
I do think if it's a new tour group, also just like 15 minutes to just connect and talk through actually can be really, really helpful. Yeah, Aurora, I see your question too. So teachers can feel pressure with guests coming into the room. Any words of encouragement? Yeah. So I think one benefit of visiting the same classrooms is that they're more used to it, and also framing it. What I did with Cohen when we visited the other day is during their morning meeting, I made an announcement like, Hey everyone, I'm happy to introduce visitors from Indiana and California. They were from a bunch of different places. Um, Charter School Growth Fund specifically asked us to come because you all have one of the strongest newcomer programs and the strongest English language learning program in the country. We're so thrilled to be here. Thank you. So I think highlighting like these groups are coming because you're amazing and because you're really a strong teacher and they want to see you in action. Our teachers are also like a huge part of our organization is right growth and desire to be excellent and constantly growing. And so the teachers on this list, Alex Brown, Carrie Ann Russo, Chris Glass, Nora McGann, they've all been teaching for a decade plus, but are still hungry for feedback. So they're excited for people to come and they want to hear the feedback, positive and constructive, and get better and get stronger. And so I think just building that environment. At Cohen the other day, I did visit a first year teacher's classroom because it just sort of what we needed to see and things. And I kind of just went and talked to her for a little bit and talked to her about like my experience as a first year teacher and why we were coming to visit and that we were really excited. And so just affirming her ahead of time of like, here's why we're here. We're really excited. We're really grateful. And then sending that positive feedback and encouragement afterwards. Cause yeah, no one ever came to my classroom, instructional coach or visitors or otherwise. And so it would be really intimidating if someone came into my room. I think our group is a little bit more used to it and context building and using it as a chance to build culture and highlight their strengths and have them feeling really great is always my goal.